You were never told how to be a righteous wife. Not really, not from Islam. You were most likely told how to be a righteous wife from male supremacy. And I can tell you, and I can prove to you how. But first, if you want to understand male supremacy, just read Male Supremacy 101, or if you just want a quick glimpse, there's a free one-page PDF explaining male supremacy and the difference between divine supremacy and that ideology, because divine supremacy is the Islamic model of religion. Now, back to how you were never told as a woman how to be a righteous wife. You were told how to serve a man. They're not the same thing. They are not the same thing. What a man benefits from a righteous wife is not the same as the foundational traits of a righteous wife. Hear me and hear me well. What I mean, before I explain, it's as simple as, let's say, for example, if you were wanting to know how to be a good mother, right? You're looking at the long term. I want to make sure that my children are well, generation after generation. I want to make sure that I have a good relationship with my children, right? If you focused only on I'm going to fix their breakfast, I'm going to make sure their school bags are packed, I'm going to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you won't be able to have the emotional resources to be a good mother and show up for them, because why? You're not showing up for yourself. And by the way, this is taught in Islam pretty much explicitly, that the formula for being a righteous wife doesn't even start with a man. In fact, being a righteous woman has nothing to do with a man. Whether or not we want to share our beauty and our righteousness with a man is a choice. And remember this, you can talk about all day, oh, marriage is sunnah, marriage is sunnah. Yes, but did you hear what you said? It's not an obligation. And anything that's not an obligation, there's a reason, a divine wisdom behind it not being an obligation. Notice how marriage is that one sunnah they want to push on you as long as it benefits men. But they will ignore the sunnah of kindness. They will ignore the sunnah of generosity, of pouring wealth into your wife. The traits of being a righteous man, as talked about in the Quran, is to give freely from what you love. Whole separate topic. But we already know the hypocrisies of male supremacy, so I'll leave that for another day. But being a righteous wife, the reason why you were almost definitely not told about being a righteous wife is because you most likely were just told about the traits of an ungrateful woman, and then you were told on how to serve your husband and be grateful to him. Everything through the lens of what a man is benefiting. But Islam did not do that to you. Islam gave you the formula, first of all, for being a righteous woman, meaning a woman who is pleasing to Allah. And you will see that formula in the 4 best women of paradise. Each of these had a healthy relationship with herself, boundaries, and a relationship with Allah rooted in tawakkul. Trust in Allah, irrelevant of a man, even when a man benefited from it. Okay? And a lot of people who are in male supremacist mindset, men and women, will want to talk about the reason that Khadija radiallahu anha was so blessed is because she was the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Not because of who she was. She was the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if being the wife of a prophet gives you anything, then why is the wife of Nuh not given that same allowance, or the wife of Lut alayhi salam? Why not? Because it wasn't about the man, it was about the woman, and then how that treatment of herself spilled over into how she treated her husband. Now let's go back to the proof that you have never learned, most of you, most likely, how to be a righteous wife. Because a righteous wife is about how you show up for yourself, and we can only look at the examples of the 2 women who are the best women of paradise who had good marriages, if you want to look at that. Okay? These are women who were wealthy, independent women with abundance mindset, with firm boundaries. Okay? So if you do not have the resources or the mindset to walk away from a marriage that is not benefiting you, like Fatima radiallahu anha was able to do, or if you don't have the finances and the resources and the wealth mindset to choose the man for you, instead of waiting around to be chosen like Khadija radiallahu anha, then you do not know what it means to be a righteous wife. And this is specifically why it is the pick-me's, it is the male supremacist women who are the most at risk of being the very woman that they're running away from, which is the ungrateful woman who can end up in the hellfire. And I have proof. There's so much proof for it in the Quran and Sunnah. But you know the reason that you don't see it is because you have been taught Islam through male supremacy. But in my book, and this is another one besides Male Supremacy 101, in my book, But Do You Feel Safe with Him? 10 Reasons Why Performing Femininity Never Works in Love. In one of the chapters, I talk about why the independent, wealthy woman makes the best wife. And it goes beyond just her resources. It is rooted in the concept where the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ghina fil qalb. Wealth is in the heart. What does this mean? When a person comes with wealth in their heart, as we see with Khadija radiallahu anha, as we see with Fatima radiallahu anha, they are not in a space of dysregulation. So when a man, as I talk about in the book, But Do You Feel Safe with Him, does something wrong, even if it's wronging her, and I'm not talking about abuse, she is able to carry the traits that the Prophet ﷺ said, where she says, I will not sleep until you are pleased. The reason that most of you are triggered by that hadith is because you were taught how to be a wife through male supremacy, as I talk about in Male Supremacy 101. You are not taught how to be a wife through self-love. Why does this matter? In neuroscience, by the way, and in Islam, it's called anah. The emotional regulation and calm can only happen to a person who is fully calm and regulated in themselves. And when you are calm and regulated in yourself, you are able to have what they call equanimity, which is a part of anah, where you don't get pulled into somebody else's madness when they're having a moment. And again, I'm not talking about abuse. I'm talking about a man just being a child of Adam. One of the reasons that the same men who insist on having male supremacist, dysregulated, unhealed women as wives complain about how wives show up is because they insisted on looking for traits in a woman that will guarantee she can't be a righteous wife. She doesn't have any resources outside of you. She was never taught how to draw boundaries. She was never taught how to depend on herself. She has not even an abundance mindset. She didn't even plan with a contract of anything would happen. And men like that who are in male supremacy. But see, when you are an actual righteous wife, when you have that anah that comes with the wealth that's in the heart, which is going to be manifested in how you lived your life before you met this man, or who raised you, as in the case of Fatima radiallahu anha, you can say in a calm space, I will not sleep until you're pleased. Why? Because your life is not dependent on this man. You are a partner to him by choice, not by desperation, not by need. This is another reason that you'll find the Prophet ﷺ, when he criticizes the women who are ungrateful to their husbands, he criticizes and says they're doing this while they totally depend on this man. And it's a criticism. Okay, you're not supposed to be totally dependent on another human being. And even in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is told through the angel Jibril how your honor is in your independence of people. You don't think that applies to women? Or are we not believers? You all have been tricked. You drank the Kool-Aid and you are running away from the opportunity to paradise by creating hell for yourself in this world in the name of being feminine. That's why you never learned how to be a righteous wife. Because you never learned how to be good to yourself. You never learned how to love yourself. You never learned how to build your own wealth. You never learned how to draw boundaries. You're not willing to walk away from a man who mistreated you because you were told this man is your whole world. And if you walk away from him, everything crumbles. But if everything's crumbling, who are you worshiping, a man or Allah?